Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Maternity Dress Code. This happened several years ago. After onboarding a new job, I was told I could hire an assistant. The HR director, Kelly, handed me a stack of resumes, told me about a friend's daughter, and bumped Kat to the top of my interview list. Kat passed the tech test with high scores and interviewed well, so I hired her. Kat showed up to work on time, had a good attitude, performed well on assignments, and was generally a pleasant person all around. After probation, Kat was excited to tell me that her last raise was enough to get an apartment with her boyfriend. It was a couple of months after her raise that I started to notice Kelly spending an inordinate amount of time talking to Kat. The conversation sounded personal, and Kelly was friends with Kat's mom, so I didn't think much about it. Until one day, when Kelly barges into my office. "Did you know Kat moved into an apartment with her boyfriend? I might have heard something about that." Well, Kat is pregnant, and her mom is devastated. And she proceeds to fill me in on the details of Kat's personal life. Uncomfortably, I interrupt, acting like I have a lot going on. This really isn't any of my business. If there's something related to Kat's performance that we need to discuss, please fill me in. But as for me, Kat is doing a great job. A few months pass. Kat's baby bump is starting to show. Kelly is again in my office. Kelly is not in compliance with the dress code. Last staff meeting, Kelly handed out a dress code policy with a collage of various women's shoes and dresses and suits. They were presumably cut from fashion magazines to assist us to determine what was acceptable and what was not. I picked up the policy and the clip art sheets with a stare. Is she wearing something in the not allowed clippings? As I began to spread the clip art around my desk. She isn't wearing maternity clothes, as Kelly points to the bullet about maternity clothes in the policy. Well, the policy clearly says maternity wear is allowed. Kat is clearly pregnant and she is wearing clothes. So, you know what I mean when I say maternity clothes. Clothes from a maternity store. I told Kelly that I would talk to Kat, which I did. Kat filled me in that there was some drama with her mom not liking her boyfriend, and that Kelly is involved, etc, etc. I just told her to read the policy and be sure she complies. And, no matter what, to trust me. I had her back. The next day, Kelly is in my office, telling me that Kat is again not in compliance with the dress code. At this point, Kelly knows I'm getting frustrated. Okay, I'll talk to her again. This time I want you present, because I'm going to give her a formal warning and assign remedial training. I bring Kat into my office with Kelly present, and formally read off my prepared statement, making it clear that it will go into her permanent file. Kat, you were given a verbal warning yesterday to comply with this dress code. Because it is not clear to me what is or is not a violation of this policy, you are to report to the HR office 10 minutes early every morning for the next 2 weeks for a dress code inspection. Report to me if HR finds your dress unfit. If you are found to be in violation of this policy and are unable to correct your dress before the start of the workday, your employment will be terminated. By the time I'm finished, Kat is tearing up and Kelly is staring at the floor, speechless. I dismiss Kat. I hope that this is the last I hear about this, because if I do, I'll fire her. Kelly, speechless, walks out of my office. I told Kat not to worry about any of this. We have them where we want them. So for a week, Kat reported to me that her clothes were fine per HR inspection. At the beginning of the second week, she was chuckling. Kelly told me that I looked very nice today. Attitudes began to change and everyone was smiling. I got called to the red carpet by Jim, the CEO. He tried to keep a straight face as he recited what he heard was going on and asked me to cut the remedial training short because it was embarrassing the HR staff. Straight-faced, I said, "Well, Jim, if I stopped the remedial training, I'd have to fire Kat. Company policy clearly states that failure to complete a formal remediation plan is immediate termination. It is very clear. There is zero tolerance. You can't fire a pregnant woman for what she wears. I'm asking. No. I'm telling you to stop. Stop following company policy?" Laughing, he concedes. Okay, I'm resigning that ridiculous dress code policy, effective immediately. The next story is called Spell It Right. This story took place quite a while ago. I was working remotely in a company with co-workers from all over the world, and the culture there was actually quite nice. I really enjoyed everyone I got in contact with, and in all my time there, I'd never experienced any bad blood between anyone. To put it simply, everyone was very understanding of each other and open-minded. Enter a guy who we will call Jose for simplicity. You see, Jose had a special character in his name, something that I'd noticed but never really addressed, because why would I? When emailing him, tagging him in different places, etc., his name obviously didn't carry that special character, but he still used it on our messaging platform. One day, I needed to send him a private message, and I started off with a simple, "Hey Jose." He did mention that he'd like me to spell his name correctly, and I honestly thought it was all in good fun. I explained that I'd never used that character before in writing. My keyboard wasn't set up for it, etc. I thought that was the end of that, but apparently not. I wasn't immediately pulled aside by a higher up, but during a one-on-one meeting later on, I was told I should be mindful of people's names. I could tell that the person delivering this news wasn't thrilled about it, but the issue had been escalated nonetheless, so they had to remind me. I thought nothing of it, since I had very little to do with Jose anyway. But lo and behold, a couple of months later, I had to message him again, this time in a group setting. After a little back and forth, I thanked everyone individually for their input, and because I'd forgotten about the name incident before, I simply said, "Thank you, Jose." As you can imagine, during my next one-on-one, this issue was brought up again. This time I was a little miffed, but I said, "You know what, you are right. I am clearly in the wrong here. Cue Malicious Compliance." You see, my name also has a special character, but it's not a frequently seen one since I'm from an Eastern European country. Safe to say that nobody else in the company even knew of its existence. I'd also assured people that they can call me by my English name, which is much easier to pronounce. Well, not anymore. During that same one-on-one, I told my higher-up that I now expect everyone to call me by my correct name, special character and all. Would you be surprised if I told you that Jose was one of the first to complain that my special character isn't easily accessible on his keyboards? He actually had the audacity to contact me privately to complain that his name was a special case, since it's more widely used. And the special character is well known, whereas mine isn't, and I shouldn't feel special about it. The next time I had to write down his name, and I made sure I did it often, I didn't actually type it down. Instead, I copied and pasted it from Google. It would always, without fail, paste the Wikipedia article about his name too, so my messages looked clunky as heck. Nobody judged me for it, and Jose avoided me like the plague whenever he could. Trouble was, he needed me more than I needed him, so he was forced to suffer by writing out my name properly far more often than I guess he expected. The last story is called Can't Remove the Charge. In the early 2000s, when I first moved out on my own, I rented from a complex that charged you for assigned parking. It was an upcharge of $25 a month. If you didn't get assigned parking, you would have to fight for a space on the street. My apartment was in the back of the complex, and I was getting over a recent knee and ankle injury, so I opted for paid parking that was relatively close to my front door. My car was a junker, 3 years older than I am, but it went semi-okay and the heater worked. As a newly minted adult, I was happy to have it. About 3 months into my lease, my car went to the great scrap heap in the sky. I had gotten used to the local transit system and discovered a nearby store would drop off groceries for me. This was long before Walmart and other stores started doing it, so it was cheaper than figuring a month's supplies on the bus. So I opted not to replace the car and utilized the bus pass my work reimbursed me for. I went to my leasing office and told them I no longer needed the space and would you please remove the extra charge from my bill. The manager at the desk was new and had never been asked that before. She promised to look into it and let me know. I was naive and figured it would be gone come the next month. Nope, it was still there. I paid all but the parking space and called up the complex. Same girl. She said she was a rating word from higher ups and offered me a credit for the charge as a one-time courtesy. I reminded her that I no longer owned a car. I hadn't just changed my mind. I told her that the space had been empty for close to a month now and that I won't be utilizing it. She said she understood loud and clear and would get it sorted by next month. 3 days before rent was due, she finally got back to me. Apparently, it was in my lease and couldn't be removed without breaking the lease and signing a new one. Even if I didn't move out, the lease breaking and initiation fees would be charged to me, and my rent would go up to the new current market value. This would be over $1,000, so not an option for someone freshly on their own. So I kept the parking space on the lease. 3 weeks later, I was reviewing my lease to get the phone number for maintenance and noticed the clause for the parking space. Essentially, I could park a motorcycle, scooter such as Vespa, car, truck, SUV or trailer in the space. Gears were turning. For me to be in compliance, I had to have wheels on anything parked in my space. So I went to my local version of Craigslist and found a wheeled container similar to a shipping container. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth every cent. The complex offered storage sheds at an upcharge too. Being fresh out of high school, I didn't have much to store. My neighbor though did. I threw a lock on the unit and offered it to my neighbor for half the cost of a shed, $35 a month. He was able to move his stuff out of his storage unit where he was paying over $100 a month, and the container was available all the time. He was happy for the arrangement and paid several months in advance. The complex put several tow stickers for out of compliance on the trailer, but I called the tow company and faxed him a copy of the lease where it says trailers are allowed. The container was registered with the county as a utility trailer, so there's nothing they could do. They tried to fine me for improper parking, but again, I had proof I was within my rights. They even offered to remove the charge for parking on my lease if I would relocate the container. With what my neighbor was paying, I could cover my water bill every month, so I declined. I stayed 18 months and sold the trailer to my neighbor when I moved out. He had to rent a car to relocate it to his assigned space, but he said it was worth the couple hundred he paid. He ended up saving over $1,000 a year renting from me. Other neighbors even started bringing in their own containers too, even if it meant getting a second space. Sheds were being vacated at such a large volume that the complex tried to give them away for 6 months free. Few took them up on it. The complex amended the new leases to exclude trailers, but could do nothing about those that already had them in the spot. Instead of moving out and giving notice, renters would reassign their leases to new people, so they could be grandfathered into the trailer clause. I drove by the facility 2 years or so after I moved out, going to a friend for Thanksgiving. The complex had been sold to a new owner and changed their name. But wouldn't you know, there were still about a dozen weird shipping containers parked in the lot. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.